We don't like to talk about death, and we really don't like to talk about forced death or suicide, but they're no less real. And, we talk about how I talk a lot about how I don't believe there are accidents in this world. I don't believe there are coincidences in this world. And I know there are some faiths, and I respect them for their doctrine, but I don't necessarily agree with some. I know there are some faiths that believe suicide is the one and only non-forgivable sin. And I guess the next step that follows is like eternal damnation. Well, I beg to differ. I very much differ in my belief with that. I believe if an individual has come to a point in their life where their very best option is not to wake to see a new day, that's a tragedy, and that's very, very, very sad. I've been in that position, actually. I've been in that position. I was in that position for nearly a year after my husband died. The only difference was I never considered suicide. I just simply did not want to wake up. And for those that consider suicide, let me just tell you this. You don't know what tomorrow may bring. You don't. And as awful as things may be right now, suicide is very much a permanent and lousy fix to what is likely a, fleeting situation. So to anyone out there, whoever thinks that your very best chance for a new day is not to wake to know it, I hear you. I absolutely hear you. Like I said, I was there for a long time. Yet, I beg of you, give life a chance. Give life a chance, because you can't yet know what is yours to learn today. With the dawn of a new day, you don't know what that will bring. And honestly, maybe it'll bring a bunch more garbage. Maybe it will. That's how life is. However, I know this in my heart and soul and everything that I am. You are never, ever, ever given too much in a day. Ever. The big guy just wouldn't do that to you. Now, if you've made choices that have made your life so complicated and just unbearable, yep, that's on you. That's on you. However, just as you made those choices that made your life crummy, you can begin to make new choices that will make it better. And that I know in my heart to be true, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. Don't give up on life. Don't give up. And for those who have given up on life, here's my message to those left behind. You must not hold on to any guilt. You must not, because as tragic as your loss has been, that will only ensure more tragedy on you. And this I know to be true. I know it as much as I know the sun will come up tomorrow. The guilt or any inkling of a thought that you have that you could have done something to change or prevent the outcome of a suicide, you need to give it up. You need to, because that person's day came. Regardless of how it came, the reality is their day came on that date. Whether it was self-inflicted or not, it holds true. Their day came, and nothing you could have said or done would have changed that. Nothing. And you're giving yourself, I think, a little bit too much credit to think you could have changed that outcome. I really do. I don't understand how it could be, but somehow, some way, those lives that are taken by suicide, somehow, because we can't change that, somehow we must find within our heart and soul to know that that person's day came on that date. How it came, you struggle with that all you want, feel guilt all you want, but know that that struggle and that guilt is of this life. That person who has gone beyond, they're over it. They are so over it. They're in a place of such wonderfulness and looking down upon you saying, do not feel bad for me. I get a do-over. I'm in a place of no care, of no pain, of no sorrow, of no worry. And that's my message to you. And those who have lost their lives by what some would call accidents, this is my message for you. As my husband, Bill Whitlatch, on August 1st, 2014, was killed in what was reported as an airplane accident. I don't believe it was an accident one bit. I absolutely believe, and I've believed this from day one, his day came. Nothing could have changed that. Nothing. And, the innocence and just charm of sledding down a hill, to have that end a person's life, I don't think that was an accident. I'm sorry, I just don't. I believe Stephanie's life was supposed to end that day, and I don't understand why at all, not at all. But I believe her day came, and nothing could have changed that, nothing. And I can't even explain why I know that to be true, but I know that in my heart and soul. I have always known that ever since I can remember as a little kid and my grandpa casket and dying. I remember thinking his day came, and I have held strong to that. I believe it to be true, and one day, if you care to know, I'll tell you more of why I know that to be true. So, when a life ends, be it, a so-called suicide, be it a so-called accident, what we all must know and just hold on to is that person's day came. And we are granted the gift of shock at first. We're granted that because we can't always comprehend the gravity of what's happened. You can't take it all in at once, so you're given shock and you're kind of stunned, and then gradually you come out of that shock to this new reality of that life being gone. And then we can kind of sometimes get into denial or anger or bargaining. There's all kinds of places for that to go. I'm here to tell you from someone who has been through a really, really challenging time, but came out of that dark, dark tunnel of grief. My advice, and this is only from my experience because that's all I know, my advice is do not hold back one single tear. Do not hold back your feelings. Feel your way through the grief. I think that's the only way. Don't hold back a tear. I always have, when it was a year and there were 5 days out of that first 365 days, there were 5 days grand total that I didn't cry right after Bill died that first year. I remember thinking, is there a mandatory amount of tears? And if there is, how could it possibly be that I've not met that? How could it possibly be? And yet, his life and his loss of life was worth every tear. And it still is. They still come. They just do. And I don't block them. I will not block them. I will not. And a couple of recent deaths in our little community here, brought me to a pile of tears again because I just, I feel so bad for those families. I just feel so bad for them. But I don't feel bad for those that have lost life because they're in a place of such wonderfulness that, we don't need to worry about them. We need to worry about ourselves. We need to honor their lives in the very, very best way we can, and that's by living our own. So, that's all I have to say to you today. Except for that, I love you, and thank you for coming back.